Hello, everybody. As you guys probably have guessed by now, if you are watchers of this channel, I'm obsessed with interior design. All things furniture, home decor, home renovation, DIY, I love it all. So in today's video, I wanted to break down how I design a room from start to finish in hopes that this might help you guys wrap your head around your next room makeover. Everything I talk about in today's video can apply to your home, but also your office and your studio and your YouTube set. So we're gonna use my new office as an example for this video. If you wanna see the full office makeover, I will link it up here. Before you can start designing your room, there's a couple of things you need to ask yourself first before you even start picking furniture and paint colors. And that is, how do you live or how do you work if you're designing your workspace? What is the function of the room you're making over? What are this particular room's shortcomings? And what items are on your wish list? What are your must-haves? So this is a super important step when it comes to designing a room, because at the end of the day, when you're done the room and done all the hard work, you wanna make sure that the space functions how it was intended to function, or it's even more functional than when you started. So I'm gonna answer these questions about my office just for an example. So this is a workspace. So how do I work? I spend a lot of time editing at a desk, but I also spend a lot of time using pen to paper, sketching, drawing. I also have a lot of camera gear. So this room should be a productive space. It should have multiple work areas, and it should have storage for said camera gear that I mentioned earlier. This room's shortcomings, it was not inspiring when we started, and the lighting needed to be improved. I had a couple of lamps that were on my wish list that I wanted to get, a wall lamp and a table lamp. I wanted a full wall cabinets of storage, something that was functional yet nice, pretty to look at, and 2 work desks. So once you've answered all those questions, time to do some space planning. This is really important to think about before we start buying furniture for our space. So a mistake I see people make a lot when they get into a larger space is they push all the furniture up against the walls. And now suddenly your chair's over here, your couch is over here, your rug is floating in the center of the room, and you had to be yelling across the room to have a conversation with somebody. In a smaller space, this is unavoidable. In our apartment in Vancouver, it was so small that we had no other option but to push our furniture up against the wall. But if you have a larger space, you can kind of pull that furniture away, and the room can actually really benefit from creative space planning, we'll call it. So let's talk about that now. Let's say, for example, you're designing your office and you just picked up one of those beautiful new iMacs, and you wanna walk into your room or your office and see the back of the iMac. You can float your desk in the middle of the room. That's okay to do. Pulling that desk off the wall and featuring the back of your computer, maybe with some shelves or some artwork behind, looks really beautiful when you're walking into the space. It makes the layout a little more dynamic, but also if you're using it for filming, it makes a great backdrop as well and adds a little bit of depth because you pulled that desk off the wall and you're a couple of feet away from your background. For my office, I knew I needed an editing desk, and I wanted to kind of put that in the corner so I had a wall to bounce light off of so that it was kind of tucked away in its own corner. And then I wanted this, what I like to call writing desk, which is where I do my planning, and I wanted that to be near the window. So these 2 spaces were different functionalities. Editing corner is in more of a darker corner that's away from the window to cut down on glare on my screen, and then I could supplement light with artificial lights, lamps, and then the other desk was near the window so I could get nice natural light. I can open up the window, get a nice breeze blowing through, and then I have a slightly different sight line outdoors instead of just at my screen. So for my writing desk, I actually did pull that off the wall. It is anchored to the window wall, but there is a bit of a gap between the desk and the shelves, and that allowed me to put shelves all along that back wall. Otherwise, had I put my desk there, I wouldn't have had a big wall to put the shelves. And in my wish list item was more shelves, more storage. So it was really important for me to have those shelves in the space. So therefore, pulling the desk off the wall gave me that space to put the shelves, and it also gave me that secondary desk to write at. Drawing the shape of your room on a piece of paper, and then kind of just start making squares and boxes and kind of seeing how maybe you can lay out your space or out your room. Keep in mind sight lines, keep in mind walking paths. You don't want to block a natural pathway walking through your space. You want to make sure you have enough room so that you're not knocking elbows or arms off any furniture pieces. And before we move on, the key to doing your space plan is to actually measure your room and figure out how much space you have for furniture. You don't want to get to a point where you're buying furniture and suddenly it doesn't fit, or it's way too small for the space. And then measure where your furniture is going to be. So for instance, that wall with my shelves on it, I knew I had to measure from the window wall to where the door opened to the server closet. So I had a specific amount of space that I could fit those 2 shelves in, and so I picked shelves to fit in that space. So make sure you measure your room. So the best place to start when you're trying to figure out how you want your room to look is Pinterest, especially if you don't really have an interior design background or you haven't really dabbled in it before. Finding images that represent your style or things you like will help you visualize your space. All the images in your board should be inspiration for textures, color schemes, layouts, vibe, and doesn't necessarily have to represent exactly the type of room you're working on. So at the end, when I have my board done, I'll go back and have a look and see what trends are popping up. So we see a lot of dark and moody spaces, lots of grays, lots of neutrals. And so to me that says, go in this direction. So once you figure out your style and sort of the direction you want to go in, you kind of want to pick your vibe. So again, for this office space, very clear to me, it was dark and moody. You might like bright and like super colorful spaces, or you might like light and airy. So you want to pick a vibe that feels really good for you. So again, we like the dark and moody vibe, but we also like the light and airy vibe. And the vibe we go for in different rooms that we're making over completely depends on the functionality, how we live in it, and how we're going to use it. Once you have a style picked out and a vibe, now we can start looking for furniture pieces to fill our space. And so this is kind of where the mood board comes in. So at this point, after doing my space planning and looking through Pinterest, I have a pretty good idea of what furniture I want for the space. So I'll go through and take images of those products and either bring them into Photoshop, Illustrator, or this new app I've been using called Portfolio Board, which is really great for mood boarding rooms. And I'll just make sure that all of those furniture pieces look okay together and they have a cohesive look. So not only will I bring in my furniture, but I'll also bring in some accessories, some textures, and some color schemes that I want to use in the space. So when I'm picking a color scheme or textures or wood for the space, I want to make sure that if we're bringing in something that's a little bit obscure, that it's coming through in multiple locations. So we picked this light wood for our DIY monitor stand. We couldn't just have that one piece of wood in the room or else it was going to look out of place. So we brought that in multiple locations, like the tray on the desk, the hooks on the wall, and the monitor stand in the closet. So if you're going to bring in a color or a wood tone, just make sure it shows up in your space a couple of times and not just once. You're going for a cohesive space. You want to walk into the room and everything feels like it goes together, but it's not too matchy-matchy. It has a vibe, it has a creative flow, and it also reflects you and your personality. We're looking at the mood board, we're looking at furniture, but don't forget to shop your house as well. And you guys have heard me preach about this all the time. Shop your house, figure out what's in the space currently, or maybe in a different room of your house that you really like, that you want to pull into the space. And when you shop your house and you find stuff that you already have, that's less money you have to spend on the makeover. So once you have shopped your house, you figure out what furniture you're gonna get. Once again, go back and make sure you measure thrice, order once. If you're ordering it online, you wanna make sure it's gonna fit through your door, your stairwell, and in your space. So measure. Proportions are also really key. You don't want to have a giant room stuffed full with tiny furniture. Make sure that the scale of your furniture fits inside your room. So if you have a large living room, make sure you get a large sofa and large tables to fill out the space so it's functional and the scale is correct and proportional to the room. In some cases, when you're using a rug, you might need to go larger than you think. You want to make sure that either the front legs of your sofa and your furniture are all on the rug, or all four legs of your sofa and your chairs are all on the rug. Don't want, especially in a living room, is to have a coffee table with a teeny tiny rug underneath, so it's like a little flying carpet, and then the couch and the chairs are floating on the sides and nothing is touching the carpet. So make sure that if you're getting a rug, go bigger. Bigger is better. And bigger rugs are also really expensive, so we might be inclined to get the smaller rug. Can't afford the bigger rug, don't get the smaller rug. Save up weight and bring it in later. The room is kind of always evolving, and so you can add pieces as you go. You don't have to have it all at once. So lighting is also really important when it comes to putting things in your space. Natural light is really great if you have a large window, and ceiling lights are really great too, but when it comes to like evening chill vibes, you don't want to have all the ceiling lights on, so don't forget about adding lamps and accent lighting. And we kind of we did a deep dive on lighting, types of lighting, color temperatures, what color temperatures you should use, all on an episode of the podcast, which I'll link up here. Using your mood board and your vibe as a guide, we're gonna pick the key color for the room, which is gonna go on the wall. Paint will make the biggest difference in a space, and it will set the vibe as well. So if you're going for a dark and moody space, you're gonna wanna do dark walls. You're not gonna get the dark and moody vibe without dark walls. I see a lot of people asking, how do you get that dark, black, desaturated look in your videos? We get that look because our walls are black, gray, neutral. That look comes from the way the room is painted. Also, don't be afraid of dark walls. I've seen a few comments on this channel saying, don't paint your walls dark. It's so bad. It's gonna ruin everything. You're gonna be depressed. You're gonna be tired. And all of these things are false if you understand lighting, you add lighting. Depending on what way your windows are facing is gonna determine how much light is actually coming into your room. But you can add artificial lights. There's nothing wrong with that. So lamps, accent lighting, these are things that are gonna supplement having this like dark and moody space, especially at night. Now we're on to my personal favorite part, which is styling the space. So now we're gonna start bringing in the fun stuff and setting things up to make the room function and feel the way we set out for it to feel. Like at the beginning of this video when I asked the questions. That's where we're getting at. We're gonna bring in our accessories, our rugs, what's going on our shelf. So whether that's actually like books and decor items, or for in my instance, if it's camera bags, cameras, lenses, we're gonna start organizing that and making it look nice and functional, and we're not gonna overcrowd the shelves. If you're doing decor and you're not really sure how to style your shelf, I actually made a video about it. I'll link it up here on how to style a shelf. Using all of those steps, as we talked about from the beginning of this video, as a guide, that should help you bring your room together. So that's how I design a room from start to finish. I analyze and look at how I want to live or work in the space. I make a space plan, I figure out the style and vibe via a Pinterest board, and then I start to do my mood board where I figure out what furnishings and accessories that I want in the space, my color scheme. Then we paint, we do the furniture layout, and then we style, and then we're done. So I hope me sharing this process was helpful for you guys when it comes to planning your next room makeover, whether it's your office, your home studio, your living room, bedroom, bathroom. These are kind of like the basics, my formula on how I design a room from start to finish. I really love home renovation and interiors, and we have tons of more home and room content coming, especially this summer. We're almost done the studio, so hopefully we can share the full studio tour with you guys at some point. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Before you can start designing, I'm actually sweating. This keeps happening. Yeah, I just talk a lot with my hands like this the whole time. Like, I don't even think I could get my ideas out. And this is where the energy comes out. Like if I start moving my hands, there's mess everywhere, and you've got a corner that's just full of drills and drivers and screws and wood scrap and plaster and paint brushes and plastic, like a giant rental pile. It just gets moved from room to room.